Whereas we might say human trafficking in Tennessee, but
Yeah.
human trafficking is Thank you and welcome to the show this morning. The topic this morning is human trafficking, and we're fortunate to have with us to talk about human trafficking Miss CGreenlee2. Miss CGreenlee2 has been with us on a number of occasions, and I think, Miss CGreenlee2, you certainly are not a stranger to any members of our audience this morning. They've seen you on a number of occasions, going way, way back here. But now I think you've got another topic that you'd like to talk about, Ms. CGreenlee2, and that's human trafficking in the state of Tennessee and other areas that you might be familiar with. And so let's start off by having you to give us some information about your background, your education, and some of your experiences, some of the things that led you to that chair this morning. And then during the second segment, we will be more specific, talking about human trafficking in the second and third segment and the impact that this is having on individuals, upon governments, and et cetera, from your perspective.
Yes, thank you again, Dr. Haynes, for having me. You know, earlier on your shows, I've always talked about my background as being coming up with two alcoholic parents and being a lack of school and education and being put in the hands of abusive men with sexual activities happening to me at the age of 5. And so that led into sex trafficking for me. And I started talking to you guys about youth violence because of the death of my own son. And I really hardly never talk about that part of my life. And recently, that part of my book has opened back up. And I've always said there's no shame in my game. I've already been spoken plainly enough to tell people who I am. And once I saw the background of sex trafficking that's really happening here in Tennessee with our little girls and some little boys, then I asked my God to give me permission to come and talk about the other part of my life. And that's exactly why I'm here now, to tell people that not only am I not ashamed to talk about the drug addiction, the prostitution, and the lifestyle that I lived, but I want to talk about how that got started. And when you talk about sex trafficking, you don't really think about well, they was put out there to prostitute. They was wanting to make this money and all like that. No, I wanted to just set the record straight that when you talk to the little girls and you tell the little girls, well, why, you know, when you become sexual active at 11 and 12 years old, 9 out of 10 they're going to tell you because they already had men funneling with them when they was 5 years old. So when I got funneled with at 5 years old, it automatically took me not into a traumatized situation, but it also took me into fear of minions. And so then it also took you into the zone where you want to be loved now because you don't have self-esteem and you're wondering why this happened to you. And so falling back off of that, as I got older, like 10, 11 years old, men still was dealing with me sexually and no one was there to protect me because remember, my parents was alcoholics. My siblings are younger than me and my oldest brother was never home anyway. And that led to me being 12 years old and being lured in by another man, another strange man, just coming and bringing me products like necklace, like tennis shoes, like dresses, come and lure me in the neighborhood to talk about, I think you look pretty in this. And once I accepted that, then that started the lifestyle of me being sex trafficked.
You think that that's quite common among many young women, young girls, and that is a method that they use in terms of trying to get control of young girls?
Yes, this is why I chose to come, and I thank you again for asking me, because I want them to know this, that these young girls are not being asked to be sex trafficked. They're being lured in, and some of them are being lured in by their boyfriend. Because when you came to the word sex trafficking, well, first it started prostitution, and now certain set of people have become victims of sex trafficking, that everybody is using that word. But some of us has been lured in by our boyfriends, not pimps, because there's no more pimps like the early 70s. And I tell people all the time, quit looking for the afro and the big Cadillac. The pimp is the government now. The pimp is the system. The pimp is society. So when you come in and you see the little 11-year-old girl, she's already low self-esteem. She's already rocking. You can tell on her face that she look lost or she feel like she's not loved. So I come up to you and I'm like, little girl, what's wrong? Would you like to have a pair of these shoes that you're looking at? I can help you get that outfit or that pretty necklace. And you can. I'm 11 and 12. Sure, I can. You deserve it. You do good in school and blah, blah. And then as soon as I say, okay, and I accept that because I want that necklace, I want that dress to show off to my friends in school, then that's when they put the price tag on you.
Okay, and so what we're going to do, Ms. Greenlee, is to take our first commercial break, and then we're going to come back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. Thank you and welcome back to the second segment of the show for today. We're talking to Ms. Greenlee, who's given us some information in reference to human trafficking in the state of Tennessee. And of course, Ms. Greenlee, let's pick up where we left off and give you an opportunity to expand upon some of the information that you've already given us.
But the one thing I want people to know, they don't talk about sex trafficking in Tennessee because it's so low key. But Tennessee ranks one of the number 3 to number 5 states that has a lot of sex trafficking because of I-65, running from Atlanta, Memphis, through Texas. And we are coming from other states and being dropped here. It's just like I was taken from here to other states. So nobody never knew the traveling that I was doing, and it wasn't because I was going to be educated on anything. It was because I was going to be tortured. And when you hear about something like Colombia, Nigeria, Jamaica, where they have a lot of brothels there, true enough, but they are escaping there because of their government getting so tight on them that they're coming across the state line and they're coming to Tennessee. And so when I was trapped in that lifestyle, I wanted someone to save me. I wanted someone to get me out. Sex trafficking in Tennessee mostly happens around Super Bowl time. It happens when you have conventions, medical conventions, lawyer conventions, educational events that's coming to one of the biggest hotels here, or even the convention center. But people overlook that, how a real sex trafficker perpetrator will rent a whole hotel floor, just for us girls. And I found out doing my research that the youngest sex trafficker here is 10 years old. Now, the age that they enter into a sex trafficking prostitution is 12 to 14. But then that was in my time. Now you're ordering 10-year-old girls and 10-year-old boys. So I was really wanting to be rescued. I really didn't get rescued. People ask me all the time, well, how did you get out of it? Well, I aged out of it because I didn't have anybody in my time and in my community that really even cared about any kids missing. We have a lot of missing kids, and it's not because they ran away from home. It's because they were snatched up, and I'm talking about right today. All the missing kids report that we have that no one is doing anything about. It's because they snatched up. And I just have to say this, Dr. Haney, before I go further. I want people to think about the Nigerian girls. I want them to think about how can you go get 300 little girls out of a school in broad daylight and no one know where they at. Now, I'm already puzzled about the airplane that they can't find. But now we're talking about 300 little girls from age probably 12 to 14. So that means the government is involved. It's a cover-up. And until we start facing this and speaking on this, then we're going to have this. And so I got rescued because I aged out. And I aged out, I was like 42 years old, but I aged out at 30 because now by then I'm full of drugs, I'm homeless, I don't feel like I belong to anything, I don't want to live, so I'm not performing as good as the 12-year-old I once were or the 14-year-old. So that means I'm costing them money. See, you'll cost them money because now they got to feed you more drugs, and that means the price is going up. Then you got the clients, the perverts that's complaining because I'm not performing like they paid for me to perform. Well, I'm handcuffed to a bed, I'm gagged by my mouth so I don't scream, and I'm drugged up. So I'm laying there like a limp towel. So that's more complaints for them. So after about 29 or 30, the men started just leaving me alone because I'm drugged out. And so once they left me alone, I'm saying about 32, I was just lost. I was out in the streets. That's why people say Clemmy Greenlee was homeless for 10 years. I truly was. You shame to go home, you can't face your family, and then you don't even know what to say. Even though my family loved me unconditionally, I'm the one that was shamed. So I lived in the streets for almost 10, 15 years until I was rescued by the program Magdalene House. And one of the young ladies, Regina Mullins, who kind of lived that same lifestyle, she went and got help first, and she came back and got me. So when I entered the Magdalene program at 42 years old, keep in mind now, I'm 42, I feel like I'm an old woman, I'm uneducated, I'm drugged out, and I don't have anything to live for. So when I go in this program, I immediately say, you can't help me, I just want to die. But these people did not give up on me. I mean, this Magdalene program has saved my life. I entered that program in 2001, I came out in 2003, and I never looked back. And so she has been such an inspiration. She is Reverend Becca Stevens, the founder. She has been such an inspiration to me that she has encouraged me to go further. And so she believed in me so much that she sent me to New Orleans, and that's where I've been for the last 18 months. I went down there to help open up a house like Magdalene to go educate them on sex trafficking and also to go to the streets of New Orleans. If you know the streets of New Orleans, the first place you hit is Bourbon Street because everybody have all these call girls or girls swinging in and out the windows and all the prostitutes standing on the sidewalk. Well, then who have once asked one of those ladies, are you here against your will? Because everybody is not there because they want a new Lexus or they want to pay off a college fee. Some people are there because they are forced there. And you got to look and see who's watching you when you talk to the girls. So I made it to New Orleans and I did a lot of speaking. I went and talked to a lot of judges, DAs, police officers, anybody I could talk to, sororities. And I spoke so well about sex trafficking in the United States, period, not just New Orleans, that the governor even offered to bring me back down.
And so it's a real problem, you think, in the city of New Orleans, and would that be typical of some of the other cities? It's not as hidden there, perhaps, as it might be in Tennessee.
No, the stats show that number one is Atlanta. They show, that proves that. Then you got Texas, because it's running down that I-10 line, too. So you got 5 states that's really is major in it, and New Orleans just happened to be one of the states that made their laws a little tougher. So we are trying to get other states to back off of what Governor Jindal just did, because by him changing the law, it made it stiffer. And what I mean by made it stiffer, Dr. Haney, is if we got locked up for any sex crime, crime against nature, just doing any kind of oral sex, anything we get caught doing, we automatically get charged as a sex offender. We automatically get 18 months to 3 years. It's women's in jail now just because they got caught giving oral sex. But the man, he didn't get caught doing anything, so I didn't think that was right. So if you're going to force us out here, and then this man is going to be a pervert enough to pay for me, and I'm 12 and 10 years old, then I feel like then you need to be accounted for too. So my call was to ask them to change the law and make it stiffer on everybody, not just us. You make it stiffer on the men's, and you make it stiffer on the men's who are putting us out there.
Well, it appears to me, Ms. Greenlee, doing this as we end this first segment, that this is a real problem in America today. Is that what we're saying?
This is a huge problem in America today.
And we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. Thank you, and welcome back to the final segment of the show for today. The topic is human trafficking in the state of Tennessee, and Ms. Greenlee has given us some information in reference to what is going on in Tennessee, as well as what might be happening in other states around the nation in reference to human trafficking. Continue our conversation, Ms. Greenlee.
Yes, Dr. Haney, I have 3 13-year-old nieces, and I'm scared to death that if I don't stay in their life and in their face it talking about sex trafficking and men's and what they're choosing to do, I'm afraid I will lose them. So we have 2 organizations other than the Magdalene program. We have 2 organizations that's out here trying to reach the sex trafficking youth as we speak. And one is called One Less, and the other one is called End Slavery. Now, it's new to Tennessee, but they have stepped out to do something. Magdalene was the only organization that really stepped out there. Magdalene is just one organization that can hold so many. But it is so many young ladies out here that's being trapped already. It's so many phone calls that I get from 14-year-olds and 13-year-olds, and majority of them start out in saying, he tricked me. You know, he took me out like he cared for me, like he loved me. And once we got there, he said, I owe you, and you're going to repay me like this, and this is how you have to repay me. Now, when they started threatening your family, doing something to your sister, I know where your mama work at, I know what school your brother go to, but then you traumatized. A lot of people say, why didn't you tell it? Well, if I told it and something happened to either one of my family members that they said they were going to do something to, then I'm automatically traumatized for the rest of my life. Also, you get to see them beat another little girl or another young lady in front of you. So if you already saw that, you already know what's going to happen. I got an 8-inch stab wound in my back now. I don't know how many scars in my head for trying to get away, for trying to run away. And so it didn't work for me. So that made me like, I'm not going to be able to tell anything else. So I just want I want everybody to know that you got to quit turning your head. You got to quit saying, it don't happen here, it's just in India, Cambodia. It is right in your backyard. And the story in Cincinnati, Ohio, if everybody remember that, them 3 girls that was in that basement for 10 straight years. If everybody remember that story, it'll tell you that it's definitely in your backyard. And so I just want people to really understand that they have to talk about this. I'm willing to talk to anybody. I'm willing to share my story. I'm willing to come and speak anywhere. All they have to do is just call me up, 615-588 589-8984. And I'll come anywhere, because not only are they asking for the girls, they're asking for the little boys. So when I was in Louisiana, one of the clerks, workers had went online and ordered a 10-year-old boy. And this is why we was opening this subject, because this is not just a can of worms. This is a conversation and a concern for the entire state of Tennessee.
And so people are able to order children by way of the internet. Men are able to order young boys and young girls and et cetera, simply with a click of the mouse.
Yes.
Is that what we're saying?
Yes.
That's how prevalent it is now, and how widespread.
Yeah, everybody know about the page called Backspace, Backpage. That's for the girls. And then you got a gay page that they go on for the little boys. And they order them and say how old they want them to be, what color hair they want them to be, how much they want them to weigh. And the guy actually showed up at the hotel with $200, 5 condoms, a date rape drug, and a lubricant. He actually showed up for a 10-year-old boy, and this man worked for the feds. So it's like, it's not just no pimping game. This is a government issue, and they are covering it up, and they know that they can do something about this sex trafficking if they wanted to. You got drug trafficking, gun trafficking, and sex trafficking. Well, the drug trafficking is number 1, the sex trafficking number 2, and then the guns. See, the guns was number 2, but now they selling people more than they are guns.
And from what I understand, this is a real problem with youth. When you mentioned drugs, alcohol, and sex, that's one of the areas where many of our young people, our teenagers, are caught up in one of the more detrimental areas of their lives. When they get involved in drugs, sex, and guns.
Yes.
Is that what we're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying. I've been gone for 18 months in New Orleans, and this is why I'm back on your set, letting people know I'm back. I'm hitting the streets. I'm coming after my young girls. I'm coming after my young boys. It ain't about violence. It's about protecting them, period. I've already had a phone call from several young girls telling me that they went to the hotel with their boyfriend because they thought they loved them, and when they got there, it was other men in there waiting for them that they have already paid for to have these kind of sex activities with these little girls. They are getting caught up once they turn me onto that X pill or that bar or that crack or the heroin that's coming out now. The new heroin is coming back. Once they get the young girls on that right there, then they're on their way to being sold as slaves.
We've got to do more, you think, as a community and as a society in reference to this, Ms. CGreenlee.
Yes.
Having had a chance to work, what would you suggest that we do in terms of trying to get a handle on this?
Number 1, I suggest the subject start happening in church. The subject start being talked about in schools, and the subject start being talked about in libraries, because those are the 3 places where they all are gathered at. And I know people don't want to talk about sex in church, but you need to talk about sex in church. You need to talk about sex trafficking. It's right next door. All of these black girls that are missing has not ran away from home. And I'm not just throwing it on a racial thing, but you tend to look for more other colors, like India or white or Latino or something. You tend to look for them more than you do black. If you go on black page, black girls missing, you'll see a bunch of us missing. So why nobody looking for them? How we know they're not tied up? How we know they're not in the basement gagged up and shot up for the dope and can't scream? Because for a long time I was gagged up, I was shot up for the dope, and I couldn't scream.
And so this is a real problem, and that what we're doing now is to simply try to highlight that and make people much more aware of it. And I have to admit that this is an eye-opener to me. Of course, I've heard of sex trafficking and, here and there, but I didn't know it was such an industry. And you were saying that it is a real industry, and people are making a lot of money, and a lot of folks are getting hurt in reference to it, and et cetera. And I think you mentioned the problem down in Louisiana, where the government is actually changing things in such a way that's detrimental to young girls more than anything else. Is that what we're?
Yes, he had made the laws stricter for the perpetrators now and the pimps. Like I said, the pimps is not in an afro and a Cadillac anymore. And he changed the law so tough that he flew me back down to stand there with him while he signed the new law and gave me a copy of it with the ink pen. So I was really proud of that. So whatever I was saying to him, it rests his ears, but more than anything, it rests his heart. He might have daughters himself or granddaughters, and it gave him something to think about. So now, if we done this in Louisiana, we need to do it in Tennessee, and this is what I'm here to talk about. I got both ends of the story. I got sex trafficking, and I got youth violence, and I'm done with just talking about it. I want to be about it.